Hi, I'm Steve. Welcome to Virobus.
And I'm Alan.
Alan, we've been talking about the 3 M's of business, and we're down to management. Tell me about management. As a consultant, what are the areas you talk about with businesses regarding management?
Okay. Usually people think of, when they hear the word management, when they've seen the context of money marketing and management, they generally start thinking of themselves as, am I a good manager?
Managing the business, the day-to-day of the business.
The business and the people, like am I a good manager? They think of their favorite manager, or maybe a manager at a quick stop, or a convenience store, to anything.
The boss.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And that's really, that may come into it to a certain degree, but it's really not the first aspect of really what we're talking about when it comes to management. There's several parts of this. Number one is the team that you surround yourself with. The second part would be your license and the permits, the legalese, the reason why you get to exist in your local area, cash flow, and sales. All of those are a portion of the management process. There's a book called Venture Creation, written by Jeffrey Timmons. I actually taught a class on this at one of the local universities. And in Venture Creation, one of the things Jeffrey Timmons, this big thick book, I'm going to boil it down to real simple. He basically profiled a lot of mega successful entrepreneurs. One of the things he found was, when it comes to management, the key that he found that was in common was the mega successful entrepreneur surrounded himself with a good team, a very good team. And a lot of people think a good team or a good teammate consists of someone that's knowledgeable. The problem with that is we haven't gotten into any other aspect of that teammate that qualifies them. So when you go looking for your team, and we can look at a series of lists, well, who would be teammates? Well, there's real estate, there's realtor, then there's the banker, there's your attorney. CPA, your consulting. We could.
So it's not necessarily the team internally in the business, it's the team of consultants and mentors that you go to.
Right. A lot of these people are people that you're going to be having to function with to some degree in order for your business to continue. So when you get those, what I tell people to do is, number one, if you don't know who they are, then you need to go to people that you respect that are in business and ask for referrals. What you're looking for is, you want to find someone that's knowledgeable, but that's also accessible, reliable, and dependable. I have people that come in to see me, and I say, well, did you get hold of your CPA? And they say, well, I've called them for 3 weeks now.
And he won't return my calls.
Yeah. And I said, well, that doesn't sound like a very good teammate. And they'll take a pause and they'll say, well, what do you know about them? And I said, well, they're not very accessible. Another time, I asked someone, did you get hold of your banker in this situation? And they said, well, yeah, actually what they told me last month not to worry about, now they've sent a letter demanding payment this month. And I said, well, it doesn't sound like much of a teammate. And they freak out again. I said, well, it's someone that's not very reliable with the information that they gave you. Last month they told you one thing, now they flipped on you. So those are critically important. Whenever you go through those 4 qualifiers with someone, chances are, and you've interviewed at least 3 in each of those categories, chances are you're going to come away with someone that you can rely on, that they're going to be a good teammate. And they're not necessarily the cheapest. And a lot of times we're worried about funding, and I'm a tightwad at heart, so I've got to watch that. So you're looking for someone that's knowledgeable, reliable, dependable, and accessible.
Okay, and I'm going to bet that most businesses don't do due diligence on putting that team together.
You're exactly right. Once again, it's one of the things Jeffrey Timmons talked about in his book with Venture Creation. You really need to do that. Your reference or your referral process is probably as important as anything.
Yeah.
It's critically important if you're going to be successful, because once again, I think I want to be mega successful. If you're going to be mega successful, then surround yourself with a very good team. What it shows us is that the mega successful entrepreneur is not doing it by themselves.
Right.
The second thing we talked about is just as important.
By the way, I'm going to interrupt you for just a second. There's a link below to more detail on putting your team together.
There you go.
Okay.
Good.
Second area.
Second area is the permitting or the business licensing part. I tell people, basically, this is when I get to use one of my favorite sayings, is that if you're going to saddle up, you might as well make sure your saddle's tight if you're going to ride. Kind of my John Wayneism. The point is, if you're going to get into business, you might as well make sure things are right. We had this happen recently to a local restaurant. The city inspector came out to chat with the bar manager and found out that they were doing something that was not according to code. Now, the interesting thing about this is that the city could have sent the bar manager to jail. This was something that was...
It's hard to make money from jail.
Oh, man. And the funny part of this was the bar manager got with the manager and they said, well, in the state that we're normally from, or originally from, this isn't the way it is. And they said, well, welcome to the fact that you're not in that state anymore. Yeah. So that's a big deal, is you need to understand what your license or permits. And there's a variety of places to go. The easiest way to look that up is to go to one of three locations. That's your local state.gov. Another one is irs.gov. And a third one is your city.
City.gov, typically.
Right. And whenever you go, you can go to those three, or like we talked about before, go to your SBDC office, and their website's probably got links to those too. We find that people are generally one of two. You lean either to the left or right, and that is, you're a person that likes to talk to people, you want to listen, or you're someone that likes to read. If you like to read, I'm going to tell you, go to the websites and start reading the information that you think you need to know. If you're not, find the phone number, pick up the phone, and start calling. When you do that, those people will start talking to you. Generally speaking, you can get the information you need to know ahead of time. And the question I've asked people is, how many people have ever ridden a horse with a saddle that was loose? Generally speaking, it doesn't happen when you get on. I don't know if you ever did this. The horse will hold their breath. They're pretty smart. You get on that saddle, you get up on that horse, that saddle's
everything
pretty
feels
tight.
okay.
Yeah. They take off walking, they start relaxing. You're not going to find out that the saddle's loose when you're walking generally. It's going to happen when you start picking up a little
when
bit
it's
of speed.
too late.
Exactly. Then you turn, that saddle moves with you. That's exactly what happens in business. It's not at the very beginning you find out, oh, I messed up. I didn't have this permit. No one's going to be that convenient to you. What's going to happen is you're running, and all of a sudden you realize you've broken a permit, you've done something wrong, and they stop you in midstream. You just started an advertising campaign, or now you can't take the calls. So it's critically important that you get the permits and license in place. Then the last two we talked about is cash flow, and sales. I realize that we can spend a lot of time, and we should, in cash flow and sales.
Again, we're going to have links to more in-depth conversations on those. My
point is, just like that hot dogology we talked about over in marketing, if you got a little confused when it comes to $350, $1 margin, and that kind of thing, if you can't get it in hot dogology, you probably aren't getting it in your business. And the fact is, you need help if that's the case. You may have a passion, and it may not be cash flow. I watched someone walk in one time. Their very words were, we were so successful, we had to buy another business in order to continue to expand. I'm looking at their cash flow, spent 20 hours on this, and I look in the profit margin, the gross margin section. Out of 12 months, I found 1 month that was black. Not red, but black. And I said, I've got this wrong. I know I do. What's the problem here? We go back and looking, and what was happening was their raw material cost was higher than their finished goods price. And so they were sitting there bleeding profusely. And I said,
no wonder they were selling a lot of their product.
Oh, yeah. And I said, do you understand what you're doing? Well, I said, you need to stop what you're doing and contact the people that you're supplying.
Yeah.
Well, we inherited that business. I don't care if you inherited it or not. If you don't understand your cash flow, you need to do something about it.
Huge difference between revenue and profit.
Yeah. And in 6 months, they were out of business.
Yeah.
So not only did they lose their business, go back to what they said. We were so successful,
we had to buy another business
in order to continue to expand.
Yeah.
And I'm going, that's a sad day. Whenever you find out that you've inherited something, it doesn't matter. It's the M. It's management. If you're not managing it, it's going to take you down.
Yeah.
And so you've got to know. And then the last one is your sales. Your sales, you need to understand what your sales are, what your sales are going to do to contribute. Back to what we were talking about just now. You've got to understand, is there a contribution margin? If you don't, you need to get hold of someone. And we'll show it more later.
In detail. Hey, thanks. Be sure to check the links below for more information, and we'll see you next time on Virobus.